And welcome back. The White House canceled the Super Bowl winner Philadelphia Eagles' invitation to come, the Mueller investigation, and Donald Trump's desperate defense, the impending trade war with China, the EU, Canada, Mexico, and what does this all mean for the U.S. allies, as well as trading partners going forward. Here to break this all down, we welcome now our political analyst, Lee Bynes, to the set. And Lee, we're not short for information today.
Well, you know what? We're forced to do this. We got to take a swim in the swamp. There's just no other way. Race relations are at an all-time low here in the United States right now. Donald Trump is capitalizing on it big time. This whole issue with regards to the Philadelphia Eagles being disinvited to the White House, he claims that it was the Philadelphia Eagles that made this a political statement by deciding not to show up at the last minute. But, all things considered, he had to be well aware of the fact that a lot of the players were somewhat less than enchanted with his attitude over the last couple of years, and there would be a low turnout for this event.
Well, let's break it down now, because the Eagles did say in letting the White House know that many players had decided not to come. The White House says, since you're not bringing the full team, pretty much stay home.
Well, you know what? It comes down to an ego thing, because we know that the president has a big thing with regards to crowd size, hand size, feet size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if you want to extrapolate out of that what you will. But he was looking for a big-time photo op where he had a lot of black players standing around him, and he could use those photos later on to say, look, I have a substantial black constituency. They weren't going to be used like that. They decided that, look, we could make a better statement by not coming. Now, you know what? We can move forward on this because LeBron James and Steph Curry already came out right now. It doesn't matter who wins the NBA championship. Neither one of those two teams plan to show up. So this won't be repeated next year.
So when we look at this, and there's that whole anthem controversy about the national anthem, the president, it's been said that the president had a lot to do with the NFL owners in helping them to make their decision about the national anthem. What are we to make about this? Because now you've got the president who's really not just dealing with world affairs, but now you're dealing with professional sports.
Well, you know what? Considering that he's got a lot on his plate with regards to world affairs that we're going to be talking about eventually, the whole North Korea summit that's coming up in Singapore. He's got this trade wars that he's triggered himself between China, the EU, Mexico, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This issue is a diversion from his real problem, starting with the Mueller investigation. So if we want to go there, that's where we want to go, because that's what the public really needs to know, not what he wants you to know.
And let's bring the public up to speed.
Yeah.
The latest with the Mueller investigation.
Well, things are heating up, and Donald Trump is feeling the heat. You can tell that because his lawyer, I would say his mouthpiece, Rudy Giuliani, came out and just floating these ideas that the president really is, in one way, you could stay above the law. He cannot be indicted as a U.S. president. He does not have to answer a subpoena. And he actually can't even be guilty of committing the act of obstruction of justice, because they're stating that being the highest law enforcement in the land, to obstruct justice would be obstructing himself. Not only that, they're also going to argue moving forward that the investigation in and of itself is unconstitutional. If that wasn't enough, he has the power to pardon himself. Now, that was news to me, quite frankly. I'm sure it was news to a lot of other legal scholars who know their business, but we're talking about Rudy Giuliani. We're talking about, in my opinion, he's barely above being an ambulance chaser at this point in his career. When he was at the Yankee game celebrating his birthday last week, he actually got booed. His time is over. He's just the last one to know it. Donald Trump is hanging on to him because he's having a difficult time bringing on people who actually know what they're doing. So that's where we are right now. As far as the investigation goes, Paul Manafort was just called out for witness tampering. Those carry some serious charges and some serious time associated with it. Not only that, but George Papadopoulos, I believe he's due to be sentenced either today or sometime before the end of this week. These guys are under pressure big time to flip if they can. When somebody starts tampering with witnesses, they're desperate. This is all an act of desperation. He had to know that he was being watched very, very carefully. He had to know that anybody that he was in contact with or in cahoots with over the course of the last couple of years, that if he gave them a buzz on the phone, somebody was listening, or they were already told, they were in the process of flipping. Look, if you get a call from this guy, we want to know what he's talking to you about, and we want to know it first. Otherwise, we move forward against you. So, you know, with all of these things taken into consideration, there's a lot of pressure on the
I want to
president.
dial it back for a second, though. When
Sure.
we talk about Rudy Giuliani's defense of the president, saying that he's, you know, pretty much unindictable, that he can pardon himself, this, that, and the third. Truth and merit, number one, is the first question that is asked. Is there any truthfulness to that? Is there any merit to that? Because if that's the case, then why is there even an investigation at all?
Well, that's my point exactly. If this investigation is deemed to be unconstitutional, they would have brought that up a year ago and squashed this whole situation. They also said that the president has the constitutional power to close down a DOJ, a Department of Justice investigation or FBI investigation. He can do that. Now, if all of these things are true, why is he playing this game? Because he knows that that he would lose in the court of public opinion, and an impeachment wouldn't be far away. So that's the reason why he's hanging on in this regards, because he knows that if just a mere mention of the fact that you would try and pardon yourself would lead to impeachment. So he has some tools that he could use. He could go out and fire Jeff Sessions. He's intimated it enough. He's told the public in tweets, speeches, on the news that he was dissatisfied with this man's performance, and the fact that he recused himself led to this witch hunt or hoax of an investigation. But he could do that, but he knows that doing it would come at a major cost politically.
Let me get to the international news, the trade wars that are actually brewing right now, North Korea, Singapore. Let's get into that.
Well, as far as the trade wars are concerned, he's really ticked off the Chinese, because when the talks started initially a couple of weeks ago, supposedly his people, his team, had said that the president was going to take any kind of sanctions or any kind of tariffs off the table. That wasn't going to happen during the negotiations. Out of the clear blue sky, Donald Trump does a complete 180, and he levies about $50 billion worth of tariffs against the Chinese, and citing the same old things that he's been doing for the last few years, that they've been stealing our intellectual property. They won't beef up their intake of U.S. imports, and so he placed those tariffs on them. Then he goes after the Europeans. He went after Mexico and Canada. All of them have come up and said that they plan on retaliating. Mexico's tariffs went into effect today. They're going after pork, anything from pork to peanut butter, et cetera, targeting states specifically where Republican leadership is, so those folks will feel the pinch first. And not only is this unpopular internationally, of course, because it's just smacks of protectionism, but the reality of it is that the Republican Party themselves, the elites, if you will, because there is a separation between the two. We could talk about that at another time. But the elites have realized that this man is bad for business. This trade war that he's triggering is bad for business. It's going to hurt a lot of people. Donald Trump has also mentioned that he wanted to strike a blow against the Germans and keep their cars out of the country. What he doesn't understand is that this is going to help hurt American workers more than it will than Germany, because Germany can sell those cars elsewhere. The problem is that a lot of those cars are made here in the United States. That surplus of goods and services that run into the United States, they're making a lot of those cars here. So if he starts a trade war with Germany over those cars, there's going to be a lot of folks here in the United States looking for work. And those jobs come with decent benefits, decent hourly salaries, and they're going to be hard to fill again.
What can we expect for the rest of the week?
Well, I would say we're looking at the North Korean summit. They're still going to try and push through with that. Right now, the Trump administration is downplaying the outcome significantly, because they know at this point North Korea is not going to denuclearize. And even if they did, I read a paper by a couple of nuclear physicists. This is what they do at Stanford University. And that paper indicated that full denuclearization of the North Koreans could take anywhere from 6 at a minimum 10, 15 years at a maximum. So the reality of what's going on right now is the North Koreans are playing for time. They're playing for time until Donald Trump, they've already made the calculation, the Russians, the Chinese, everybody in that neighborhood has already made the correct calculation that Donald Trump is unlikely to be reelected again, and then they can sit down at the table and negotiate with sound mind.
All right. Lee Bonds, that's what we bring in. Thanks a lot. Our political segment, Lee, thanks much.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, next week we want you to join us because we'll be talking a little bit about the elections and the upcoming midterm elections. Lee will be in studio, and also J.C. Polanco will be returning to take a crack at Lee and see how we make this out. I'm sure it'll be some fun TV
Looking
then.
forward to it.
Yes, sir. All right, well, listen, we want you to stay with us. Coming up, we'll have a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.